Hey everyone, my name is Wayne Wagner, and this is going to be my part of our presentation on substance use and other disorders. So here's a DSM 5 for a substance use disorder. Remember, these need to happen, the symptoms need to happen within about a year. It needs to cause distress or impairment to the user, so maybe some sort of family or trouble with friends or a job. Two of the following must be met, and the severity will increase. So, a mild case of a substance use disorder will involve two to three of these. A more severe will be four to five, and an extreme will be six or more of these will be met. So, I'm going to read off some of these for you. The quantity of the substance used or the amount of time spent using is often greater than intended, so you can kind of see where you're losing control of the substance and it's kind of taking you for a ride there. Efforts to control use of the substance are unsuccessful due to persistent desire for the substance, so um, yeah, you're also losing your control with that one. Considerable time is spent using the substance, recovering from its effects, or attempting to obtain the substance. So that's a cycle of addiction. It's where people fall into the trap of needing more, then more money, and higher quantities of the substance to keep their high strong. A strong desire, craving, or urge to use the substance is present. Substance use interferes with major role obligations at work, school, or home. I touched on that. Use of the substance continues despite harmful social or interpersonal effects caused or made worse by substance use. So, some people will see that their friends and family react in a certain way, or it's hurting their social life or other areas of their life and quit. But, it's not the case a lot of the times, too. Participation in schoolwork or leisure activities is avoided or reduced due to substance use. That one is similar to what we talked about with depressive disorders and depression, how people kind of isolate and, want to be alone whenever they're dealing with something. Substances as well. Substance use occurs in situations where substance use may be physically hazardous. Continued substance use occurs even when the substance is causing physical or psychological problems or making these problems worse. On the last one, whenever I talked about it being physically hazardous, think about driving your car, the impairment that alcohol can cause, and can certainly, result in physical hazards. So, and then the next one, a tolerance for the substance develops, including a need for increasing quantities of the substance to achieve intoxication or desired effects, or a noticeable decrease in effects when using the same amount of the substance. So then we see people, upping their dosage, maybe mixing it with another intoxicating substance or switching to another substance. So where people talk about the gateway drug with things like marijuana. One of the big questions with that is marijuana a true gateway drug, or are people likely to use cocaine, heroin, some of these harder non medicinal substances, even if marijuana didn't exist at all? And I don't know on that one. I think alcohol should be considered, certainly up for consideration for a candidate for a gateway, drug, substance, however you want to look at it, because of how widely used it is and the effect that it has on people and, leading to other substances. And then the last one, after heavy or sustained use of a substance, reduction in or abstinence from the substance results in withdrawal symptoms or precipitates resumption of the use of the substance or similar substances to relieve or avoid withdrawal symptoms. So, yeah, the withdrawal can be so intense that no matter how bad somebody's wanting to quit, ultimately it is up to them and they can quit, but the withdrawal does seem to be that thing that keeps them going back. They don't want to be sick. So I want to talk about caffeine. I couldn't find a DSM-5 on caffeine use disorder because it's not really out there. It's more, I just found, short descriptions. So I'll just briefly talk about caffeine, and you can use the that master DSM-5 for substance use disorders. for caffeine, even, if it is causing, obviously, it's not going to be like alcohol or cocaine or some of these other things and how it can affect your life, but if it makes you feel depressed, anxious, causes insomnia, which it has been shown to, then um, it should certainly be looked at. Many do not think of caffeine as a drug. About 90% of adults in North America use caffeine every single day, so think about how widely used it is, and people aren't even really considering it to be a drug or have negative effects, which it certainly can because of the things that I mentioned, anxiety and insomnia and stuff like that. When combined with high amounts of sugar, caffeine can cause an even greater spike in energy and crash later on, but healthy fats can do the opposite. So what we see that with caffeine, if you combine it with like coconut oil or let's say some grass-fed butter would be ideal or something like that, you can make it to where the caffeine is actually that spike is spread out, so you're getting the effect of the caffeine over a longer duration. It's not as heavy of a spike and then a crash. It's more of that steady you know there's no like not that same peak. It's just more of a steady balanced energy that you're getting off of it, and obviously that's way healthier than all that sugar and stuff, especially first thing in the morning when your insulin is the most um, gonna accept that anything that you put in your body. So that's something to always consider. Caffeine is a stimulant and the most popular psychoactive substance. 30% of middle school and high school students report using energy drinks, which can have triple the amount of caffeine as a coffee or tea. And as energy drink consumption has increased, we do see that hospital visits and ER visits have increased as well in accordance with that. So certainly something to look for. Combining high amounts of caffeine with any other substance can certainly have a ton of problems. Can be so dangerous for your heart. So, yeah, I drink caffeine, but I try to moderate it and wait till I'm awake for a couple hours before I'm putting something else on my adrenal system that can affect me negatively. DSM-5 diagnosed for gambling disorder. Persistent and recurrent problematic gambling behavior leading to clinically significant impairment or distress as indicated by the individual. And then it's going to exhibit 4 of the more symptoms of the following in the last year. So needs to gamble with increasing amounts of money in order to achieve the desired excitement, is restless or irritable when attempting to cut down or stop gambling, has made repeated unsuccessful efforts to control, cut back, or stop gambling, is often preoccupied with gambling, having persistent thoughts of reliving past gambling experiences, handicapping or planning the next venture, thinking of ways to get money with which to gamble. Often gambles when feeling distressed. After losing money gambling, often returns another day to get even, chasing the loss, trying to, earn that money back, however much he lost. Lies to conceal the extent of involvement with gambling, has jeopardized or lost a significant relationship, job, or educational career opportunity because of gambling. Relies on others to provide money to relieve desperate financial situations caused by gambling, which I think that one would be terrible. The gambling behavior is not better explained by a manic episode, so it's not just a periodic manic depressive episode that is occurring. Yeah, with that, you see a lot of the similarities with substance use disorders, so it's interesting, and I'm sure a lot of the same chemicals within the brain are at play with those and how they affect us and that drive, that the persistent thoughts, and that's the same as thinking about where you're going to get your next fix for your drug addiction, or obviously not the exact same, but that same kind of concept where it's occupying your mind, occupying your time, your life. And this is a DSM-5 for alcohol use disorder, which I definitely wanted to talk about this because this is such a prominent disorder in our society with how widely used alcohol is, and probably not talked about enough, and how serious the effects can be. Had times when you ended up drinking more or longer than intended, more than once wanted to cut down or stop drinking or tried to but could not. Spent a lot of time drinking or being sick or getting over the after effects, so that's the hangover, which you don't have to be an alcoholic to experience a hangover, but wanted to drink so badly you couldn't think of anything else. Found that drinking or being sick from drinking often interfered with taking care of your home or family or caused job troubles or school problems. Continued to drink even though it was causing trouble with your family or friends. Given up or cut back on activities that were important or interesting to you or gave you pleasure in order to drink. More than once got into situations where or after drinking that increased your chance of getting hurt, such as driving, swimming, using machinery, walking in a dangerous area, or having unsafe sex. So that's not an exact, problem with drinking, but kind of the byproduct of being in that altered state and your inhibitions being lowered and your thought process being inhibited. Continue to drink even though it was making you feel depressed or anxious or adding to another health problem or after having a memory blackout. Had to drink much more than you once did to get the effect, or found that your usual number of drinks had much less effect than before. I feel like that one's got to be really common where people just slowly see their the amount of beers or shots that they're having increase, from day to day, week to week. Found that when the effects of alcohol were wearing off, you had withdrawal symptoms such as trouble sleeping, shakiness, restlessness, nausea, sweating, a racing heart, or a seizure, or sense things that were not there. Whenever I first read that, I didn't think that was